All right, guys, welcome back to a new podcast.
We have a special guest today. His name is Ozo. He is the only child today because Chai requested to go with her bestie, which is Jonathan's sister, and she'll be spending the day with her over there.
Yeah, I don't know si anda de chipil, anda sentido, pero pues aquí anda, mírenlo. Probably the last podcast. Maybe I'll find the clips. I'll insert them. He was a baby.
Oh, he was so tiny. You guys
Aquí
have
está.
not seen him or Chai. I don't think you've ever seen Chai on this channel, but yep, that is why we have a special guest today. How do you feel? Thank you.
All right, guys. A happy Friday. I hope you're having a great day so far. And pues a echarle ganas porque nomás esas quedan.
And also, if you are a senior, happy graduation. I hope you guys had an awesome 4 years. And yesterday, when you're seeing this, was the last day of school for everyone here in Colorado, except for Jonathan's brothers. And so happy summer to all of you. I'm so excited for you guys.
So by the title of this video, you already know what kind of path we're heading. And we kind of want to We kind of want to touch subject on this because we don't want chivalry. That's what you say,
Chivalry, yeah.
Chivalry to end, all right?
No, chivalry?
Chivalry.
Yeah.
Because nowadays it's so like equality. We're fighting. Men want the same. Women want the same. So they get treated the same. But no, guys, let's throw it back to our parents' time. Let's bring back that chivalry and let's just talk about it, you know?
Yep. And also, before we start, we did want to remind you guys that if you ever want to be featured in our advice podcast, all you have to do is email spillthebeansjj@gmail.com if you have questions or you need advice on something, okay?
It doesn't have to be relationship. It can just be life. Most likely we've been through it. If it's something, way out of reach, like we've never gone through it, we'll try our best, but experiences make advice.
Yes. And so we're going to start with this advice email that we got, and I read it and I was like, this is a good topic to touch on. I don't think we've touched on this very often or at all. So let me go ahead and read it. It says, "Hi Blanca and Jonathan, hope you guys are doing well with all this going around. Here's my sad story and I need your point of view. So I've been dating my boyfriend for 5 months and I feel like he's just playing me. We both met in Mexico and he had invited me to go out on our first date to meet each other. We went to go eat and when we were about to finish our food, he asked for the bill. They arrive with it, he looks at me and tells me if I'm down to pay half and he'll pay the other half. And I mean, I didn't think it was wrong or anything, so I said yes. But it started to get annoying when he would be inviting me out and would tell me to pay half. And when I would invite him out, I would pay. And he wouldn't even say if he could help me or something. Do you guys think he's doing something wrong or am I just over exaggerating?" Should I keep going?
Is that it?
No, but I was like, we could talk about this and then.
Okay. So, do you want to go ahead and start? Babe, I think you should start off because yo a veces soy muy fuerte con mis palabras y quiero que, I want to see how a girl thinks.
So I'm going to start off just from experience. When Jonathan and I first started dating, were we working, babe, already? And no,
I was
we
working
weren't.
for sure.
No, we weren't. Because your first job was Burger King, right?
And we had already dated?
We had been talking for a little bit, a couple months. But anyways, when we first started dating, we were both working in the food industry. And he would always pay for our dates and our food and dessert, like always. Not once did he ask me to split the bill. Not once did he ask me if I could pay. He would actually get really mad at me if I would put my card in or tell him like, oh no, I got this, always. And así me acostumbró él, So from my point of view, I was never asked to pay, and I don't know how I would have felt in the moment if he would have asked me to pay or if he would have asked me to go halfsies. I feel like you at the beginning, you said that you didn't see anything wrong with it and you just did it. But I also feel like if he had asked me to pay half and then every time I would invite him, I would pay and he wouldn't help me pay half, even though he would ask me to pay half, I would get a little ticked off because we're both going to eat. So if you expect me to pay half when you invite me, I should expect you to pay half when I invite you, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't think she says she pays for everything when she invites, no?
Yeah, that's what she said, yeah. Look, let me go to my sources. She said, It started to get annoying when he would invite me out and tell me to pay half, and when I would invite him out, I would pay, and he wouldn't even ask if he could help me or something.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like, in a sense, you kind of felt like that was unfair, because I would feel like that was a little bit unfair if you expect me to pay half when I invite you, or when you invite me, but you don't want to help me pay half when I invite you, right?
Yeah.
Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, that's totally right.
So what do you think about that? Okay, sorry, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty with our special
I
guest.
knew. I told her. I was like, Ozo always, like, he has the whole floor in bed, but he wants to lay on our shit.
It's just, I said that he could be here because if we put him out in the hallway and close the door, he's going to be crying. So you're going to get mad at that too. You know?
Yeah. But
Anyways.
regardless, I would kill someone for Ozo. Don't mind me being mad at him. Only I'm allowed to be mad at him.
Okay, keep going, babe.
Yeah, guys, I don't know if I said it already, but I don't know why you bother with these types of boys, with these types of men. I get that we all were raised differently. Maybe his mom was like, no, pues ella tiene que pagar la mitad. Pero ahí, that's like, I don't know, babe. You said it right, but like,
your point of view, babe.
I think the very first time, babe, be honest with yourself. Let's be honest with our viewers. The very first time, you would have been slightly turned off a little bit. Slightly.
I wouldn't say I would be turned off.
But you would have.
It would have caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you see movies, when you see like these chick flicks, it's mostly the guy that pays for your food. And I feel like even if in a Mexican household, you're like raised in that way, kind of. It depends on how you were raised. But you expect the guy to mantenerte, right? Like that's how the Mexican culture has been brought up, like the mantiene. You don't work, you have his kids, you make him dinner, and he pays for everything, right? So I feel like I wouldn't have been mad. I would have just been caught off guard. Now, if you would have just kept going with that and then you wouldn't help me pay and expect me to pay everything when I invited you to go out, then I would be turned off for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of... It's okay, guys, girls. This podcast is probably going to be more... well, I guess guys can learn a lot from this, but for girls out there, you know, I know that you guys want to be this strong, independent, like, no, he shouldn't have to offer. And that's most likely because this same story applies to you, girl. So if you're getting offended right now, it's bad for you.
It's because the shoe fits.
It's because the shoe fits. But, like, what? You're going to get off at the store and open his door for the car? Are you going to freaking buy him roses? Are you going to propose to him? Like, where does it end? Like, I think that our parents raised us right in that sense. For me, my mom always told me, and my dad también, never let a girl touch the bill, you know, touch the check. And for that, I always, like, I wasn't always making good money, you know, like, I was making little checks too, but con eso, like, I never let Blanca touch a check. So that for me, it comes instinctively. Like, even if your parents always work 24/7 and they never had this type of talk with you, as a man, that debe de nacer, like, to take care of your female, especially if you're pursuing her. If this guy, you guys, it was your first date, his goal is to impress you, his goal is to, you know, cuff you up. That's a male's thing. That's how I thought. So why wouldn't he pay for it? You know what I mean? That's a very bad signal from the very start, and we can tell now, because the other second half Julissa is about to read, that this isn't working out. And that should have been your very first... I know it's so cheesy, so you know, like machista or whatever, like, oh, well, he doesn't have to pay, like, that's why I make my own money. It's not about the money, guys. It's not about a $40 date. It's not about a $50 date. It's not about a $10 ice cream. It's about the fact that he did it. You know what I mean? Like, that for me is so embarrassing. I remember my first date with Julissa to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I would have, like, that's so embarrassing. Like, how that guy either has some big ass balls of steel or le vale la vida for him to be like, let's go half. Like, guys, I would not, even if they paid me $1,000 to prank Julissa on our first date like that, I would have said it like that.
And I like what you said, babe. When you first start dating, you go into this honeymoon phase, right? Where the guy is trying to win you over. He's trying to treat you like a princess and like a queen. And basically, some guys don't show their true colors on the first couple of dates, right? So there and then, I feel like that should have been your first, like, flag to be like, do I want to be with him? Because he's supposed to try to win you over. Say you guys are like a year into dating and then he asks you to start paying, or that te nace a ti a decir like, no, this date, like, I'll pay for it. Then I would understand, you know, when he's like the honeymoon phase isn't there, you guys are already dating, you're in an established relationship, and you start talking about how to make everything work and what's gonna make you both happy, right? So I understand that part, but at the beginning he's trying to win you over. So if he's not like paying for your date, or at least asking to pay, because I know there's girls that like on the first date he's like, oh, like I got this, and then you're like, oh no, like let's go half. If I understand that part, like if you want to be a strong independent woman, I completely agree with you. But also, don't be afraid to be taken care of, you know, especially when the guy is trying to win you over. You have to see what he has to offer. And if that's what he has to offer, you have to be like, me conviene o no. Because in that sense, maybe he's not mature enough. Maybe he doesn't like you enough. Maybe he's just wasting your time and you're wasting your time. So I feel like you have to be very, very careful about who you give your time to, especially because you're going to be in a long committed relationship with the person, right? So you have to make sure you're happy. You have to make sure que no le guardes rencor from the first date, and that you don't start building resentment like, oh, well, he doesn't treat me like this, but I see that my friends are being treated like this. Like, don't be afraid to want to be taken care of and to be treated like a princess, you know? So I understand. I agree with that, babe. The first couple dates, he should be paying for sure.
Yeah, and what you said, babe, in the middle of that, we as men completely agree, because guys, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. This is guy code. The boys are gonna come for me, right? But guys, a good guy is always gonna pay, and we're never gonna let you touch the check. But a big turnoff for us, or just not a turnoff, but like like the first flag, is if the girl doesn't even make a little attempt for it. Trust us, we're not, even if si sale el bill at 300, we're not gonna let you pay. But if you don't even like reach for your wallet, or don't even make the slide, or even say like, here, how much, like that for a guy, that's such a big turn on, guys. When you guys make the slightest effort, if you're with the right man, like I said, he's not gonna let you do it. Don't worry. Even if you're broke and don't have any money, that's why you make sure what type of guy he is before you go on the date. But también, like, I'm not letting you ladies off the hook so easily. Like, make a little effort just so the guy doesn't feel used. And I don't know, some guys, it's very different, babe, because some guys love a girl that doesn't make her own money, doesn't think for herself. That way he can be more controlling. Me, on the other hand, and the other half of guys, we love a girl that does make her own money, is independent, because I feel like if I'm not around, or like if something were to happen, then she can take care of herself and our kids. It's weird, guys, but we all, evolution has programmed us. And don't come for me when I say evolution. I mean God, whatever. It has programmed us to, to take care of ourselves, and just like, so I'm rambling, but what I mean is that if one day we have kids and I'm leaving, that she can take care of her kids for us.
Yeah, and I love what you said. Háganse pa pasarla bien, like if the check comes, like just pretend you're gonna reach for the check. And obviously I feel like as a man it's gonna make you feel more manly to be like, no, like I got it, know. So like make him feel that way, like that if he maybe forgot his wallet, then you would be cool to pay. Don't be like those type of girls. I've seen TikToks like this where it's like those type of girls that expect you to pay for everything. Like you're going out to dinner and they expect you to pay, or say you invite him out on a date and then you expect him to pay. Like I feel like cuando invitas pagas, and even though the guy isn't gonna, like Jonathan, if I would invite him somewhere, I would always be obviously go prepared to pay, but he would literally get mad if I was like, no babe, I got this, so pretend at least, pa pasarla bien. So don't be one of those girls tampoco that you just expect him to pay for everything and that you're just there to use and abuse him.
Van con las uñas bien arregladas de $100 y una bolsa de Michael Kors, pero you can't pay a $40 meal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Actor, ¿cómo se dice?
What?
Act
your age?
I don't know. Act yourself.
Also, I think another thing that would be like a tip, kind of, is Jonathan and I would always go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and then we would walk over to a froyo place. So I feel like in that sense, maybe he pays for dinner and then you offer to pay for the yogurt, which is obviously gonna be like what, $10, but he's gonna feel like, wow, like at least she like, I see the effort for her trying to pay something. He will probably think it's cute and probably still not let you pay for it, you know? So I feel like just try to be intentional and try to make him feel good, because I feel like guys love to be made feel good, and they love to be taken care of, and I feel like that's a good flag for them too. Like, it raises a good flag. He's like, okay, like she could take care of me if I needed to, if I wanted her to, but she's not going to. And I feel like that's gonna still make him feel good, and you just have to make him feel manly, like the man he is, you know? So
Yep.
and also, I don't want, like, I know there's this whole other side of girls that are super high maintenance, where there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you guys do what works for you and what you love, but you know, there's the girls that actually expect for him to pay, and I don't want to dive into that because I don't have experience with that, and I don't think you have experience with that. So we're not talking about you guys like not give it, you know? You do what works for you. This is just us giving advice, and hopefully you take it. Si no, pues.
Yeah, if there's any fellas out there listening to this, now you know. If she doesn't reach for a wallet even the slightest bit, then I don't know. Because I had a girl do that to me once, and that shit was the most turned off. I literally did not take her seriously, or like ew, like it was like I sent chills down my arms, and but that's just me, you know.
What did you do? I want to know the story. I don't know this story.
We had just finished eating dinner, and then we went to Dairy Queen after, and neither times did she offer to pay
Or reach for her wallet?
Or whatsoever.
And where is he now?
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, that's just my personal, because I don't know. Yeah, everyone's different, of course. Sometimes, you know, you want to be strong and independent, and this doesn't apply to that. But I think even if you are, you know, you have your own business, you're making your own money, you know, you make more money than the guy, so why should he pay? It's about the thought, guys.
Yeah.
Because then that will kind of set the path to how your relationship is gonna go.
Yes, and I feel like a good way to tell if you're okay with it or not is like the first date happens and he asks you to pay for half of it, right? And you go home, and if you're like, oh, you think nothing of it, you let it slide, whatever, then it's fine. Maybe that's how it's gonna work for you. But say that you go home and you just start dwelling on the fact that he's like, dang, he really asked me to pay for half of our date, like he didn't pay for our date, and you start feeling some type of way. I feel like that's also a red flag, that you're just gonna start feeling that way, and it's gonna start going downhill from there. So you just have to be very, very, very careful about who you give your time to, because at the end of the day, if you're feeling some type of way on the first date like that, then you're not going to be happy the rest of the time unless you tell him something. Or you should just not waste your time and maybe go on dates with other guys and see if you find someone that is going to treat you the way you want to be treated, because as we always say, there are so many guys in this world. You don't have to stay with the first one you go on a date with, you know?
And now we're going to show you guys that what we're saying is not wrong, because go ahead and read the second half, babe.
Okay, here's the second half. Also, the day of my birthday arrives, and I really did expect for him to go and see me and say happy birthday, but he didn't. The next day he called saying he couldn't go because he had already told his friends that he would go out with them. I felt so sad, but I let it go by. We had planned on going out for Halloween ahead of time, and guess what? It happened again. He canceled me for his cousins, and I was at some point okay with it, but then I realized that it is not fair and that he had canceled something that was planned way before his cousins, and that made me feel like I was his last option. If it wasn't because of how much I begged him, we would have not spent Christmas and New Year's together. We currently are in the United States, but I'm in California and he's in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's pretty hard being this far away from each other. But sometimes I think he doesn't feel the same way, or I don't the same way I do. No matter how much I ask him, he always says he does care for me, but I honestly don't feel that much happiness that us humans need from our partner. What do you think? What would you do?
See, now we saw that transform over to what we had just talked about.
Yep.
It wasn't going to work out in the long run, and it's not working out.
At this point, if you have to beg your partner to spend a holiday with you, if you have to beg him to come see you for your birthday, that is just the biggest, brightest red flag. Because let me tell you something, guys. When Jonathan and I first started dating, he would literally tell me, your birthday is my favorite day of the year. He did not care about his birthday, didn't care about nothing else. On my birthday, he made me feel like the most special person, and he would just tell me like, no, you're my gift, and like your birthday is my favorite day of the year. So the fact that you're sitting there sad because he made plans to go with his friends before your birthday happened, like, you should already know that your birthday's coming up, you know?
Yeah, of course. Tú me chiveas mucho, amor. Honestly, I feel good about myself sometimes when you talk about me. Pero yeah, like, it's common sense. Come on, like, and obviously that guy, when he didn't pay for the dinner that the first time, you kind of should have like caught the red flag that, you know, maybe he's not gonna make it a priority to impress you, and he's not gonna make it a priority to put you first, to like, you know, want to have you snatched up, cuffed. So yeah, ladies, it seems, for me, it's common sense, and I don't want to como disimular or como put you guys down and be like, you guys are so dumb, why are you guys, but because maybe, you know, maybe he does sweet talk you, maybe he does do things here and there that keep you latched on, but come on, like, big things like birthdays, paying for stuff, so that should be like a no-go. Like, you should have been out of there a long time ago.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on this because I feel like we always go back and forth on being in a toxic relationship and how our first couple of years were toxic. But I want you guys to know the difference between being in a happy toxic relationship and being in a sad, annoying toxic relationship. Like, at the beginning, Jonathan and I, yes, we were in a toxic relationship for a couple of years, but the good times were good, you know, like, it wasn't all bad. And he would still, like, on my birthday, make me feel special. He would still make holidays feel special. Even when he wasn't here, we would still give presents when he would come back from Christmas. So obviously we weren't always bad. Like, he wouldn't ditch me out on my birthday, and like, we would be happy when we were not being toxic, which were basically just our breakups. That's what made our relationship toxic. And now, obviously, the toxicity is gone, but Jonathan is still that way to this day. So I feel like there's toxic relationships where from the beginning, like, it's toxic, but it's also bad. Like, for birthdays, even if you guys are on good terms, he doesn't want to come see you. For holidays, you guys are on good terms, but he doesn't want to come spend the holidays with your family and you. So I feel like you should distinguish the difference between that. Like, if you're always sad in the relationship and it's toxic, or if the good times are good and it's toxic. We're not saying that a toxic relationship is good regardless, but we're saying, like, you should see the difference in that and see if there's a future or not. And you should not be afraid to search for a guy or a girl that is going to make you feel happy and treat you the way you want to be treated, you know?
Yes, because there's a difference between being like, our toxic guys is because we were never showed or taught how to communicate. We were never taught, you know, good exercises for couples, if this makes sense. Like, my love for her was there and her love for me was there, and we wanted to work this out, but due to my anxiety, my anger issues, and not being able to control that, we would break up, if that makes sense. But it was never a sense of lack for love that made us break up. So I know it sounds like so dumb to say that there's different levels of toxicity, but there's that level, like I said, that you don't know, where you were never taught to communicate, to use exercises, to give each other space or cool down time, but you still love each other so immensely. And then there's a difference, and then there's a toxicity that's just plain like, I'm hitting her, I'm calling her names, I'm, you know, every day is the same type of thing, you know?
Yeah, I saw this TikTok where they it's this couple sitting and they're like, we went through a toxic phase and we stuck through it, and now look at us, we're happy and married with kids. So when they say that, a lot of the comments were like, yes, if you've been in a long-term committed relationship, you know what they're talking about. You had to go through some sort of rough patch, some sort of toxic state. And then the other comments were like, yes, I completely agree with you, but don't confuse a toxic state, a rough patch, with abuse. Don't confuse it with cheating. Don't confuse it with things like that, you know? Like, being toxic, maybe in being in a long-term relationship, is disagreeing with each other, not having the right or the same views on life, the same values, and learning how to cope with that, and how to ¿cómo se dice that word that you have to do when you're married? Compromise. Knowing how to compromise, and if you're willing to compromise, knowing like what your relationship is going to turn out like, right? We're not saying, oh, you should forgive him for cheating. You should forgive him for pushing you too hard. You should forgive him for making you feel, or like verbally abusing you and calling you names, you know? So we're not saying that. We're saying that there's some rough patches that just mean that you have to compromise and see if you actually want to be with them. So I feel like in this place, if the guy isn't celebrating your birthday like you want him to, if he is not spending holidays, if you have to beg him to come see you, even if you're in a long distance relationship, why are you still with him? You know, I feel like that is the one thing that we're always going to ask. Why don't you just leave? It is easier said than done, but I feel like leaving a relationship, especially a toxic one where you're not happy and you're not being treated well, it should be super easy because there's nothing that he can offer, you know?
Especially if you're so young, girls out there. I'm sorry we don't, there's like, if there was an instruction manual to how to have a good relationship or how to know if it's going to have longevity, like if it's going to last, then obviously everyone would have a good relationship, you know? But unfortunately, there's no instruction manuals. You just have to live it. You just have to know the different levels of toxicity. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's so true, guys. Like Julissa said, physical abuse, verbal abuse, you know, not doing your birthday. So that's not a rough patch. That's like a no, like get out of there. But moving on to the next thing that I've always who did I get this from? I think it was from some guy that I used to know. But there's a difference between being a male and being a man. So everyone, all boys out there, we're all males. We're all males. We were born with a penis. Or you can say I'm a male. But you're not a man. And that for me, guys, is not you're either born with it or you're not. You either taught it or you don't want to listen. But like eso de pain, it's not even about like, even if my dad never had the talk with me, even, you know, it's like something que te debe de nacer. And it's so common sense to me about wanting me to take care of my girl that if a guy doesn't want to do it, then there va a haber un tornillito slightly wrong with him. And maybe it's not his fault, because I can see moms out there already telling their kids. I know moms that are like, and no vas a dejar que tú pagues todo. Ella tiene que pagar también. Maybe, you know, but that like nature in him, that man in him should kind of burst out and secretly still pay for you, even though he told his mom that you guys went half, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like at some point you have to put yourself first, and we're always going to remind you guys of that. Put yourself first. And no, I know I feel like this topic is probably so small and you're like, well, maybe it's not a big deal that he asked you to pay. Maybe it's not a big deal that you guys split the check. But in the long run, you guys all know this, that the little problems in the long run can actually become the reason why you separate, why you break up, why you get a divorce. So you have to deal with all of it before you guys get into this long-term relationship where you maybe think about marriage. You really have to think about it, because sometimes the things that didn't annoy you start annoying you, and then you tell the guy like, oh, like it's annoying me, and then they're like, well, you never told me this at the beginning, like this is how I acted, so this is how me acostumbré. So I feel like you guys really, really have to talk about things, even if you weren't taught. Like Jonathan and I said, we weren't taught to communicate with our partner. We weren't taught like this is good, this is bad. We were just taught that a toxic relationship was what it was, you know, because so many of our friends and peers went through it that we just thought it was normal and that our relationship was normal. Not until now that we are in a good relationship, we think about it and we're like, damn, like how did we put up with that, you know?
Yeah. Like, I feel like when you first start dating, guys, certain things, you know, that you catch, you know, when the honeymoon phase is over, it's like an iceberg. Have you seen an iceberg, babe? How it, like, at the top it's very small, and then the bottom it's humongous. So maybe him not paying for your the first dinner is like the iceberg, you know, the little tip at the top. But then, like, later on, as that relationship progresses, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be like him not wanting to, you know, like him not wanting to pay for the first dinner is like, oh, you guys are exaggerating. Well, it's just dinner, you know. But then it's gonna transcend to maybe traumas of him, you know, not wanting to do shit for his girl because his mom told him to. Maybe you're gonna have a toxic mother-in-law because the mom taught him that, you know, women should go half and half. Maybe he's gonna, you know, he's not gonna have that nurture in him to take care of you and a baby, and you know he's gonna be like, no, ve, tú comprarle los pampers. We're exaggerating it, guys, but trust me, little shit like that, it just goes
it
on.
blows up in the future. And I do want to say most of the healthy relationships that I see now that are turning into marriages, that are turning into like a beautiful relationship, is mostly because the guy wants to take care of his girl and he doesn't want her to pay for this and he doesn't want her to pay for that. It's those are the relationships that I see now. I'm like, wow, this is really healthy. Although yes, the girl does want to help with the bills, yes, the girl wants to do this, but what if you guys, the first day he wants to go halfsies on the dinner, right? And say maybe he's a construction worker and you work at Dairy Queen and you make $400 a paycheck and he makes $1,000 a week. Okay, let's say that's the scenario. Let's fast forward, ya están en la casa, ya se juntaron. Now he's bigger in the construction company, makes $2,000 a week, and now maybe you went up to like a manager and you get like $800 a paycheck. So maybe now he's like, no, let's go halfsies on the bills. Like, don't you think that you're like, well, I'm only making this amount of money and you're making this amount of money. Let's, like, maybe you pay the bills, I'll pay the groceries, you know? But he's not going to want to do that because ya se acostumbró a that you go halfsies on everything, on the rent, on everything, you know? And I feel like you really have to pay attention in that sense, because I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but usually the guy is the head of the house and he usually makes more money than the girl. So I feel like if your man makes the most money and he's not wanting to pay for everything, then that is kind of a red flag, because I feel like as a man, like Jonathan said, te nace to take care of your woman. Even though you don't want to be a mantenida, even though you have your own job, I'm just saying, like, put it in that scenario and see how you're actually going to feel if in the future he's still making more money than you and he is asking you to go halfsies. Or maybe it gets worse and he's like, now that I can control you, you have to pay the bills and I'll just take care of the rent. You know? Like, you just have to really think about that and see, like, this minuscule little problem, is it going to be a huge iceberg, and are we going to have to get a divorce and everything is going to have to change in the future? So you just have to think about it, because those little problems can explode and it can be the end of everything. So think about it really well and search for what you deserve.
Yeah, very well said, babe. The message from this, girls, is like, let yourself be treated, let yourself be loved, and don't let chivalry die.
I think, what if we're both saying it wrong?
Expect your door to be open, expect your dinner to get paid, because you guys deserve it. Okay? If you had to tell me that when I grow up and I have to bust a baby out my vagina and, you know, change my body, change everything, I'd be like, hell no. You can't pay me to do that. And you guys do it for free because you love your kid, you love your husband. So, like, let yourself be loved, okay? Because women do have it way harder in this life. Por más que digamos los hombres que una mujer nomás encuentra un hombre ya está mantenida. But no, you guys go through. I told Julissa the other day, I was like, babe, look up why you girls get periods. That shit's so unfair. And then that shit's natural. And then you guys still on top of that have to pay for tampons and pads and, you know, like, being a girl's hard, guys. So let yourself be loved. You guys deserve to be treated the best, like queens, and don't let it die. If you're on a date and maybe he paid for dinner, but you guys get to Chili's and he just gets off and starts walking toward the door, ahí amárrate un huevo y no te levantes. Don't get up, don't open your door and make him feel embarrassed. My mom made me feel embarrassed the first time that I was like, shit, I got to open door for women. We were walking into the mall, into Dick's Sporting Goods. I opened it. My mom was behind me, and I'm walking like I'm almost through the whole store. And I look back, and I'm like, where's my mom? And she was just out there with her arms crossed, waiting for me to open the door. And I was like, oh, shit, like, okay, you know, my lesson's taught. And then, boom. I never let Julissa, I never let anyone else. Her mom, when we first started dating, like, I would always open the door. And
let me tell you guys that even his brothers open the door for me. Isn't that crazy? Like, if we're all in a car and they get off, they open the door for me. Like, it's not like Jonathan doesn't tell them, nothing. Like, they just get out and open the door for me. How crazy is that? Like, desde niños chiquitos, that your mom should be teaching you to be a good guy, a gentleman. I don't know. That's super crazy. Now that I think about it, I'm like I see it as such a cute act, but it's like, that is how they're going to be with their future girlfriend, you know? That's freaking crazy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, ladies out there, whether you have a little kid, and if you have a little kid, teach him. If you have a daughter, dile que se deje amar. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's all in this. Our parents' generation, they did what they could with us. Some of us turned out good, some of us turned bad. But now it's our generation. Now us, everyone my age, older, younger, are having kids, so we gotta, teach them how to be out there.
And I also want to touch on this. When you're young, a teenager, you're in high school, okay, I get it. Your parents didn't teach you, right? And you just act the way that you know how to act. But when you turn into your 20s, 21, 25, at this point, you gotta know how to act. You have to teach yourself how to be a good person, how to be this. Like, you can't fall victim to, my parents never taught me this, my parents never taught me how to do this. Like, you can't fall victim into those things, because you're already a grown-ass man, and you have to learn how to treat women right, how to treat your mom right, how to treat, like, say you had a father that didn't treat your mom right. So through high school, you were like, well, this is how I saw my dad treat my mom, so this is how I'm gonna treat every girl that I like. But when you're older, you know that if you treat your girlfriend wrong, it's gonna all turn into a toxic relationship, and you're gonna be sad most of the time. So when you're older, you're a grown-ass man, you have to change your ways, and you have to be better, because we all know, like, 25, 30-year-old men that still fall victim to, my mom didn't teach me this, my mom didn't teach me that, and they're still just living life being bad to every girl. But I feel like at this point, you're a grown-ass man, so you need to learn how to treat a person right, how to be a good person, and you can't fall victim into that, because you're just too grown, So if you can think for yourself, and if you can make your own decisions, you're an adult, then you should treat, ¿cómo se dice? Teach yourself how to be a good person, how to be a gentleman, and how to be a good boyfriend, husband, whatever,
Yep. The same goes out for all the ladies, See, if your life is to be a buchona, andar bien peinada y con las uñas pintadas, and, do all this to yourself and, afford it, then you can afford to treat your man nice, especially if he's out there in the sun working, hustling for you. And if you're dating, married women, you don't have to worry about this, because I'm sure you guys, if you're married, it's because your husband saw good qualities in you. But if you're dating, ladies, if you're dating a construction worker, you guys are barely 3 months in, and he's in the sun, you don't even know what he does. And he just says he does construction, but you don't imagine him being, high altitudes, like high buildings, risking his life. And then you come home and you expect him to be like, he didn't invite me out, just maybe this is an awakening call for yourself. Don't take it as I'm like bashing on you. It's just treat others how you want to be treated. Okay.
Yep. And just date tu lugar, but like also give your man his place, like if you want to be mantenida, then let him mantenerte, and you guys have to learn, like, you have to learn how to be in these relationships, like, and it all starts from the very first date. And I also don't want you guys to think that if the first couple months are the same, I don't want you guys to think that in the future everything's going to change, because when you get married, the problems get worse, and everything is como like more saturated, or high, how do you say it, like you see it more, como se dice,
more constant, I don't know,
like concentrated, maybe, like you concentrate more into the, like, small problems are going to turn into big problems. So I feel like from the beginning of the relationship, you have to see, you can't, like, maybe he's super good looking, but he's super toxic and he's maybe a bum. You have to see that from the beginning, because you can't expect this guy that you've been dating for 6 months, that's been a bum, that has been toxic, that when you get married, he asks you to get engaged, he's gonna change, because that's only gonna get worse. Having a baby too, don't expect having a baby and tying him down that everything's gonna change and gonna be rainbows and butterflies. It's only going to be more concentrated, and you're gonna see more problems. So just be very, very smart about your choices. Be smart about the men you choose. Men, be smart about the women you choose, and just communicate and try to make your relationship the best, because it's gonna basically tell how the rest of your life is going to be, I feel like. Si me explico, no sé.
Yep. Hopefully you guys like this topic for today, Friday morning. Maybe you relate to it. Maybe you've gone through it and you're laughing like, yep, you guys are right. You guys are 100% right, because guys, we've been through it. Maybe this is more targeted to, maybe you're still dating in your 30s and this applies to you right now, but we just want you ladies to be taken care of. Aquí en este podcast, we're team girl, even though I'm a guy, but yeah, we just want you guys deserve the best. And I know that especially in the Hispanic community, Latino community, it's hay más machismo, hay más, whatever. So we really want you guys to break that bubble, be strong, independent women that need to be loved as well. We can mix both, okay? There's not one or the other.
Yep. And just make sure that you guys change your past. Like, you know, I feel like all of our older family members have always been in a toxic relationship, and maybe they are just with their husband or wife because they have children. We want you guys to break out of that. We want you to love your partner from the time you meet to the time you're 50 and you're sitting on your front porch waiting for your kids to come visit you with your grandchildren, and you're still in love with them, and you're not like super mad that you never talk to them again. So you just have to be super careful and let yourself be loved and be treated well, and don't expect for a guy that is a bum, a toxic guy, to change. Just you can change it and leave. You know, you have the power. And I feel like guys too, you have the power to leave a girl. There's so many people in this world, and your soulmate is probably waiting for you, and you're in this toxic relationship, you know. So take care of yourself, take care of your partner, and just live a happy life. I hope you guys are having a happy Friday, whether you're going to work, whether you're in summer break, because I feel like everyone here in Colorado is in summer break. And I hope you guys have a hot girl summer, even if you're engaged, married, with babies.
Hot girl summer, pero como dijo Les, pick me up after. So yeah, guys, nomás los voy a dejar con un little example about diamonds. Do you know how a diamond is made, babe?
Nope.
A diamond first undergoes, so diamonds mostly are found in volcanoes, and volcanoes make diamonds, but a diamond has to endure insane amount of pressure. Like the pressure to make a diamond, babe, that's why they're unbreakable. That it's like, you don't understand, babe. It's like millions and millions of tons pushing on a rock for it to like burst out a diamond. You know what I mean? So pressure. Second, after the diamond has gone through pressure, it's like, okay, like fuck, that shit was hard. Like then it undergoes extreme heat to melt off all the excess rock rubbish so the diamond can be, you know, nice and shiny. It goes thousands and thousands of Fahrenheit in heat, and then it becomes a diamond, you know, and then it gets cut up, you know, because diamonds are like big, so then they get cut into like little rings for engagements. So they get pressured, burnt, heat, and then cut up. And that's how a diamond is in this life. Billionaires, millionaires, good successful people out there have been pressured, have been heated, have been cut. But you know what comes out after a diamond, babe? Or what happens to a diamond?
What?
Nothing. It can't be broken. So ladies out there, fellas out there, maybe you're working for a girl, fix your, you know, work on yourself physically, go to the gym, work on yourself, work on your bag. And you promise you with God y con todo eso, after maybe you're going through it, you're broke right now, you've been burned, you've been cut, you've been pressured by society, you're going to come out a diamond, and then you can't be broken anymore.
You're unbreakable.
Yep. But good Friday, guys. Let us know in the comments what other topics you want us to talk about. Hope you're having a good Friday. Kill it out there, and
we will see you next Friday. Bye.
Later. Ozo, you have anything to say? Ozo. Hey.
Ozo. Hey.
Guys, he does this thing that when he pretends to be asleep. You don't know.
Let's go. He does not bother. Hey.
Ozo, come here.
Come here.
Okay, ya me voy.
Do you have any last words, mister?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.